Citizens of the Republic, have you ever wanted to know who is the GOAT of pod racing? Today we are here to figure it out. We have a tier list with 6 tiers, S, A, B, C, D, and F. And we have all 18 racers from the Boon to Eve Classic of 32 BBY. And we are going to be ranking them, talking about their careers, and see who really is the GOAT of pod racing. First up here, we have Aldar Beto. Now, Mark, if there is a definition of mid when it comes to pod racing, it's Aldar Beto.
Yeah, I would agree. Where did he place again?
I believe he placed third.
Third, yeah. It's like okay, like third. I guess not horrible, but he never was able to, be that first place, that star of the show, really.
Yeah, no, he was like, he will give you a top 5 here and there.
Yeah,
but he can't give you like a consistent top 3 or even win a race. He's not giving you those wins.
Yeah, and the media, I feel like, always tries to hype him up.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, like, he might be, he might have some skill, but he's never gonna beat a Sebulba. You know what I mean? He's never gonna win against a Sebulba.
Yeah,
so.
He's never gonna really compete with Team Topagales or someone like that. But
exactly.
And I mean, he's getting shown up by Anakin Skywalker, who's just coming in, winning, and leaving. He's getting shown up by someone like that, and he's out here consistently racing and not giving you any results.
Not a good look.
I mean, like I said, he's probably the definition of mid. I feel like this is a C tier pod racer.
I would agree, a C tier pod racer.
Okay, on to the next one here. We have Dud Bolt. Again, I mean, we're starting off here pretty mid.
Yeah, I mean, his name says it all.
Yeah, he's a dud.
He's a dud.
He's not doing much out on the track. And I mean, when you really think about the rest of the Galactic Pod Racing League, like he's floating around the middle of the pack stats wise, and just he's not performing.
No wins to his name. Middle of the pack guy. I mean, nothing special about him.
Yeah, and like at least Aldar Beto can show up and give you some top 5s.
True.
And although he might be a stats merchant, like he's like when you see the stat sheet, it's not showing the full story, and that's kind of how Aldar Beto is.
Mm-hmm.
The stat sheet is the full story for Dud Bolt.
Yeah,
he is mid,
very mid.
So, I mean, do we put him below Aldar Beto? I feel like maybe we have to, right?
I feel like we have to.
So we're saying Dud Bolt. D for Dud, right?
D for Dud. There
D
we
for
go.
Dud.
I'm
That's
sold.
perfect.
I'm sold.
All right, up next we've got E Endicott. And I mean, when you talk about a crash merchant, we're really talking about E Endicott.
Yeah.
So he came in 4th place, but we know all that's coming from just all the crashes that took place in the race.
Yeah, he wouldn't have even sniffed top 5 if there were no crashes. So
he is a bottom tier racer, 100%. He's not doing anything. He has no redeemable skills or qualities, really.
Yeah, his physique, like, that's just not a physique of a racer that you want to have.
Oh, yeah, not at all. I mean, you really got to be an athlete, and this is quite the opposite.
Yes, quite the opposite. It's literally the complete difference of what you would want to have as a racer.
Yeah. And I mean, as we know, Triffus, it's not known for producing good pod racers.
No.
I actually think he's the only one that had made it to even participate in any GPL race whatsoever. But he was given that opportunity to be in the GPL Rising Stars race, and he really did nothing with that.
No. It was overall just kind of a bottom tier career.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Yeah,
not anything special. He was a bottom feeder the second he got in the league, and he was a bottom feeder when he left the league. So
he has nothing. He has no awards, nothing to show for it.
Mm-hmm. This is probably an F tier pod racer.
Yeah.
All right, up next, we've got Gasgano. Now, this is the man that did finish in second place behind Anakin in the 32 BBY Boonty Eve. But this one is a lot less of a Mickey Mouse placing.
Yeah, because he was always in that top. He was always sniffing that top 3. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
With how crafty of a racer he is, he was always looking to find ways to get ahead of the competition in that race.
Yeah, and obviously with his species, he's got 4 arms.
Yeah,
like you said, he can get crafty out there, and his pod was specially made for him and his species, and he was really able to maneuver his way around Beggar's Canyon and other places on the track. So he really excels in these types of moments.
Yeah, and me personally, he's always one of my favorite racers to watch. He was always so entertaining. Like, he would always do things that no other pod racer would even be able to do.
Yeah, he would pull off some crazy stuff. Multiple time GPL All-Star. And I know for a fact that more so in the early days, he was definitely in those MVP conversations.
Yeah.
Just because he was able to get those consistent placings, but never too much of a winner.
Unfortunately not. For as entertaining as he was to watch.
Yeah, he did fall short quite a bit. It's more of those, he's getting into the second place and competing with first, but never able to finish out those races. But so far on the list, this is probably the best pod racer we've seen so far.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm definitely teetering A or B.
Yeah, I don't know where.
He's probably more of the B tier.
Probably, because he doesn't really have any significant, wins or anything, or MVPs to his name, unfortunately. So, but he would always be that top tier guy that would he's definitely teetering A. If he would have won an MVP or 2, or won the Boonty Eve Classic, I think he would have been an A. But unfortunately, we might have to throw him into B tier.
Yeah, he'll definitely go B. I agree with that. Up next, we've got Mars Guo. This was really the big kind of rookie sensation that everyone was looking at going into the race. First time in the Boonty Eve, and it unfortunately got cut short. Sebulba took him out.
I couldn't tell you how mad I was when Sebulba took him out, because I was very high on him coming into this race.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to shock a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best racer out of Fu, and man, like you just said, like, it was just so disappointing to see it.
Yeah, he always had that underdog mentality, and in this race, he was definitely the underdog. Like, everybody wanted to see him, but nobody really thought he was going to be maybe like a top 5 placement, top 3. I saw the talent there. Unfortunately, Sebulba, robbed us, but I thought we really could have seen something special in this race.
Yeah, and what happened in this race ultimately ruined any Rookie of the Year convo for him later on in the season.
Yeah.
It just, when you have something like that happen in a race this prominent, it's hard to come back from it.
It really is.
So he never really got that confidence back for the rest of the season, and then kind of, as the rest of his career progressed, was kind of mid.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you just don't really like to see in a sport.
Yeah, like, I feel like if he didn't crash, I feel like his career would have had a different career trajectory if he didn't crash and he was able to finish like in a top 5 spot. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. So
this one just really sucks. This one sucks to even think about for his ranking. He didn't have any of those great placings like Aldarbido, so I feel like you can't really put him in that C tier. I think he's got to go lower.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would have to agree.
It sucks to put him with Dud Bolt, but I think he's probably a D tier pod racer.
Yeah, I would say so as well.
Just one of those big what ifs. Exactly. For sure. All right, up next we've got Clegg Holdfast. this is really where we're talking about a guy that could win.
Yeah, we're taking a turn here for the better. I mean, you could see, he has the medals on from previous races, so he's a winner. He knows how to get the job done. He's won before. He was looking to do it again. Unfortunately, did not. But he's a winner though.
Yeah, this is definitely the first guy in the tier list so far that is. I mean, he's up there.
Yeah.
He's actually the only proven winner that we really have.
And he's won multiple times.
Yeah.
So he knows how to do it.
And, I mean, he did, in that one season, he did have that MVP season in the GPL. So he was lucky enough to come away with one MVP. Nothing much after that, though. A whole bunch of All-Stars. Like, he was definitely in those talks.
Yeah.
He's a consistent winner, but he's not in that GOAT conversation.
He's not quite in there. He had the career trajectory to maybe get to that point.
Yeah.
But didn't quite have enough wins, not quite enough MVPs. But overall, I mean, he had a great career. He left behind a really good legacy.
Yeah, I think this is almost obviously an A tier pod racer.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
You know, S tier is definitely going to be saved for the GOAT.
Yes, the GOAT.
So really anything below that is still a great pod racer. But just not enough to get put into those GOAT conversations for sure. Okay, on to the next one. We have Neva Key. Now this is an anomaly.
Yes.
Showed up for the race. You know, he's coming from Zagoba, had a decent career on his home planet, pod racing, but comes out to the Boonta Eve, and he was really trying to get ahead of the competition, and he tried to take a shortcut.
Yep.
He then disappears. But what we know about this guy is he owed money to Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
So really, I mean, I really do think that this isn't much of a conspiracy. I think he went off the path, tried to cheat, take a shortcut, probably crashes, and gets taken by Jabba for sure.
Yeah. There's nobody was there to see it or hard evidence, but I mean, it's widely speculated, and at this point, like you said, he owed money to Jabba. Like, I don't really see any other explanation for what happened to him.
Yeah, and we know Aura Singh was on the track.
Yeah.
And you gotta think that she was out here trying to claim this bounty.
Yeah, I mean, she's a bounty hunter, and at the end of the day, she definitely claimed the bounty on this guy.
Yeah, so. And I mean, Jabba's hosting the race. He knew
he was going to be in the race.
He knew he was going to be in the race.
And he might even knew from his prior races on his home planet that he likes to cheat a little bit. He likes to take some off the course routes to try to get ahead. And I think Jabba might have realized that, and that's why he called Aura Singh to take him in.
Yeah, and we know just because of his cheating, he's not a very skilled pod racer.
No. So
honestly, I think we're getting to another point. This might be an F tier pod racer.
Yeah, I would agree.
He's completely relying on shortcuts and cheating to be able to achieve anything. So he is going down there with E.B. Endicott. All right, up next on the list, we've got Odie Mandrell. Now, we talked about a what if earlier. This is the what if of what ifs.
Yeah, this might be the biggest what if in all of pod racing.
Yeah, in GPL history, this is the biggest what if. We had the man with the nastiest pit crew ever assembled.
Yes.
I mean, they were consistently breaking records, and this was helping him. I mean, he's from Tatooine. He's the hometown racer in the Boonta Eve. And in previous races, I mean, he's got a couple wins under his belt.
Yeah.
And it was purely that pit crew was insane.
Yeah, like that just goes to show you how important a pit crew is, because they literally helped him win some of these races, get on top. But unfortunately, they were also his downfall. Yeah,
I mean, they were not very friendly with each other, even though they were breaking these records. We know sometimes that can happen. You don't have to be friends to be able to perform well with each other.
Yeah.
And they eventually get in an argument at the start of the 32 BBY Boonta Eve, and one of them gets sucked into the pod. From there on out, He was never the same.
Nope, they split up. He had to get a whole new pit crew, and obviously they weren't nearly as good or talented.
Yeah.
And that's where the what if comes in.
So in terms of a career, he's middle of the road. As a pod racer, he's not the greatest pod racer out there.
Yeah.
But we're judging off of their careers, and the pit crew,
yeah,
it factors into your career.
Definitely.
And your placings. So he's probably more in that Aldarbido range. I don't think he's on a Gasgano level.
Nah, I wouldn't say so either.
So I'm thinking he is probably a C tier pod racer.
I would agree.
All right, up next, we're moving on to another pretty good pod racer. We've got Mahanik. This was the man going into this race that was actually somewhat of a challenger to Sabalba. Sabalba was the odds-on favorite, by far. But this man was, he showed that he could put on a fight.
Like I was very, very close to putting some credits on this man. Yeah. I really, really thought he could beat Sabalba. I mean, he had every tool that you need and skill as a pod racer to compete with Sabalba. I just hate the way that he went out though.
Yeah, he went out. I mean, his hatred for Sabalba really is what costed him in this race. And what we know a lot about this Boonty Classic is obviously whole bunch of cheating, whole bunch of knocking people out of the race, and a lot of people got knocked out of it. And a lot of these people that got knocked out were never really the same afterwards.
Yep.
But this is a man who, in the previous season, he was the MVP runner-up because Sabalba was the MVP prior to this season. That's why he's going into this race the favorite. So he was the runner-up, and having that level of pod racing ability where you're in that MVP conversation with a man like Sabalba, I mean, that just shows he was really one of them ones.
Yeah, and I really wish he wasn't so blinded by his hatred for Sabalba because I felt like, this rivalry could have went on for years.
Yeah.
Like, this would have been, like, the greatest rivalry of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But, like you said, he was blinded and he wasn't focused on the race and it cost him.
Yeah, and I mean he had a couple wins under his belt in the season prior, but after this race, never came back to it.
Nope.
So I'm probably thinking he's more on the Gasgano level, just because he never came around to being the same again.
I would agree.
So he's got some capabilities. He's got some wins. He's got some good placings. He's got that runner-up for the MVP. I really wish he would have won that season.
Yeah. But I will agree. I like the B range for him.
Yeah. Everything considered, he's a B tier pod racer. Up next, we have almost certainly the most overrated pod racer of all time, Ben Quadraneros. I mean, when we talk about overrated, he is the definition.
Yeah. And, his first race, he's going up in the Boonty Classic here. He rented his pod.
Yeah.
In this first race, he rented his pods. Like, that's already not, a great look for you. Now, obviously, he was great in amateurs. Great. You can be great in amateurs. He gets up here. It's a different league around here.
Yeah, the GPL is it's something different.
You got to have that. You got to have integrity and drive up here. And in this race, he did not have it.
Yeah, going into it without your own pod,
that's crazy.
That's psycho.
That's crazy.
I mean, he's racing in these pods on the amateur circuit. They don't go nearly as fast.
Yeah.
So he would have to rebuild and get his own pod. He rents one in the Boonty Eve Classic.
This is like the biggest race of the year, and you're going to rent a pod?
I mean, what are we talking about?
That's insane.
And then he comes out, and the pod doesn't even start.
He couldn't even get it. He couldn't even start. It's
he rented it, and he couldn't even get it to start. It's unbelievable.
It was definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest blunder in this race.
Yeah.
And maybe of all time. Like
he moves after this race. He does have some decent placings. But as the years go on, he does get better and better. but the competition gets lesser and lesser as pod racing kind of wanes out. He gets into this real big rivalry with Sebulba, which, I mean, we talked about with the previous racer. Who was it? Mohanic. I mean, he was supposed to be the rival with Sebulba, and it eventually turned into Ben.
Yeah.
So Ben kind of took that Mohanic role and was the big rival with Sebulba. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sebulba just, I mean, he absolutely destroys this man.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he did find his footing here, which was good for him because he definitely was able to make a decent career for himself. But I definitely think it was a little overrated because, like you said, it was later, and pod racing was starting to fade a little bit. It wasn't becoming nearly as popular.
Yeah. Some
of the good racers, they were retiring, stepping away from it because it wasn't as popular, so you weren't getting paid as much because, not nearly as many people were putting bets on it, putting credits towards it.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, you had the sport's greatest rivalry between him and Sebulba, but, Sebulba had been doing it a long time. Obviously, he was a known cheater, obviously, using every single advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, he just couldn't really touch him. They always tried to, force these guys to be Sebulba's, rival. None of them really ever panned out. Like, I feel like as a pod racer, Mohanic, I feel like was more talented than Ben.
He had the intangibles over Ben.
Yes.
Ben kind of just got thrown into this position, and really no one else was able to step up. Because, I mean, like we were saying, as pod racing's fading out, you've got all these legends that are retiring and are the ones that could actually put up a fight against Sebulba. This guy, I mean, he's thrown in there. He's just getting these Mickey Mouse second place finishes all behind Sebulba.
Mm-hmm. So it never really was. I've never really felt like a rivalry at the end of the day.
The most overrated. I mean, so many people want to say that he's one of the greatest because he's getting wins. He has a couple MVPs under his belt just because, you had the one season, Sebulba gets injured. It's not.
Yeah.
That's. I don't even want to talk about that one.
Yeah, he had some all-stars, but at the end of the day,
most overrated.
I feel like he didn't move the needle.
No. Like, do we want to say he's on that Mohanic level? He probably is. Just in terms of his career achievements.
Yeah.
If we're just looking at raw skill and at their raw skill as a pod racer, Mohanic is easily higher.
Yeah.
Gasgano
Definitely.
is easily higher.
Yeah.
But as a career, he's probably put on the same level as those two. I would say he's a B tier pod racer.
I don't disagree with that. I was thinking like A to B.
Yeah. All right, Mark. Now, getting into the next pod racer, we just went from the most overrated to quite possibly the GOAT of the sport. Up next, we've got Tinto Pagales.
Man, this guy in his prime, he was something special.
He was something special.
He was amazing to watch.
Four straight MVPs.
It was even just 4.
Yeah.
It was
I mean, he
straight.
finished his career with 8.
Yes.
8 MVPs in the GPL, 4 straight.
Mm-hmm. That's insane. That's never been done, and nobody was even close.
No, no. He had the 3-peat in the Boonta Eve in that run, and even in the year that he lost the Boonta Eve, he had enough throughout that season where he claimed another MVP.
Yeah,
4 straight.
This dude's legacy, it's untouchable.
And we'll get into another racer here, very shortly that kind of has a similar sort of resume to Tinto.
Yeah.
But it was so early on. Tinto was doing this in the prime of pod racing. He was going against the best of the best.
Yes.
He was not in a Ben Quadanero situation where you're going on so late into the life of pod racing that he's just getting Mickey Mouse wins.
Yeah.
This guy is doing it against the best during the best era, and he is performing.
Every time.
8 MVPs. What are we talking about here?
That's unheard of.
Unheard of. he was reaching speeds that no one else no one has beaten those speeds.
No.
And I don't think it ever will. I mean, we're at a point in pod racing where it's just become so unpopular.
Yeah.
There's no real competition.
No, the talent just isn't what it used to be.
Yeah, and I mean, it shows. Tinto Pagli's, the thing that's so crazy about his career is he retired early too.
Yeah.
He retires off the
early.
back of two more straight MVPs.
Mm-hmm.
And he retires. Like,
that's just insane that he can do that and still have the legacy that he left behind.
He went out on top.
Yeah. And that you can't really ask for much more.
You gotta think, we've been talking about what ifs this whole time. He is, I mean, I don't want to speak for both of us. He's the GOAT to me.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that his resume could be even crazier if he doesn't retire early.
I don't even want to think about how many more MVPs this man would have won.
He was something else.
He was something else. I mean, he's got to be the GOAT.
I think this is S tier. He's the GOAT. I don't think anyone really competes with him.
He has to be.
All right, Mark, up next, like I was just saying, we have people like Tinto Pagli's that were doing it back in the day. This is one of them guys. Bulls Roar is next up on the tier list. This was, to be honest, this was the original GOAT.
Yeah. I mean, he's a two-time
Bunta winner.
Which is already impressive enough.
4-time MVP. So, and the thing is, going into this 32 BBY Bunta, he had won the previous two, so he was in a position to three-peat.
Yeah.
We know Tinto eventually was the first and only person to ever three-peat the Bunta, but he was in a position to do it.
Yeah.
And no one else has gotten in that position before either. So this really was the GOAT before the GOAT. And I think we got to give him, that respect.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like, I remember the GOAT talks when Bulls Roar was, back-to-back Bunta winner. Like,
yeah.
I remember people saying, like, if he three-peats, like, people didn't know if anybody was going to be able to touch that.
Yeah. So he had won the previous two, but in that season prior, he won the Bunta and didn't really do much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know Sabalba was the favorite coming in. Mahanik he finished second in MVP the season before. But this guy won the Bunta that season.
Yeah, he was always like that. He was always that guy that was like, he wasn't the face of pod racing, obviously.
Yeah.
But you can rely on him to compete at least with Sabalba, with Mahanik.
Yeah, this guy was performing in the big moments.
Yeah, he would show up when it matters.
He wasn't winning these MVPs while he was getting the Bunta wins.
Yeah.
So this is, going into this one, he was in the later parts of his career.
Yeah.
Which is crazy that you're in a position to three-peat the Bunta Eve Classic late in your career. So he had already won his MVPs. He had already been a proven pod racer. But he wasn't one of the favorites going in, even though he was in a position to three-peat.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't a favorite in the previous two that he had just won.
Mm-hmm. He
is on the last legs of his career going into this race, and unfortunately does not get the win. But, I mean, he's up there.
He left behind a great career, 2 Bunta Classics, so he obviously he has a great payout for his career.
Yeah.
He's got to be A tier.
Yeah, I think this is an easy A tier, going along with Clegg Holdfast.
Clegg Holdfast, yeah.
See, yeah, he's up there with Clegg Holdfast going into A, and he just, the ones below him, Gascano, Mahanik, Ben. This guy he performed when it mattered.
Yeah.
And that's what separates him from those three.
Yes.
All right, Mark, up next, we've got Ark Roos. I'm going to be honest, I don't know why the fuck they let him in this race.
He's an idiot. I don't know why he was even allowed in the race. I don't even know why somebody let him be in any race. Like,
the fact that someone from Sump got into the Bunta Eve Classic is unbelievable to me.
It's insane. Like, he didn't know what he was doing out there.
The fact that he wasn't a fill-in for someone and they actually just invited him into this. I think Jabba was smoking crazy when he allowed this to happen.
I don't know. And even everybody in like the arena, I remember, was like, why is this guy in? Like, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, he was not, he was a known dumbass.
Yeah.
I don't know why he was allowed in this race.
So then after this race, I don't remember even seeing him in the GPL after this race.
No, I mean, he performed so horribly. You know, why would you even want this guy in the league anyway?
Yeah.
There were so many other way better racers in the amateur scene that were way better than this guy that I think deserve spots over him in the Boonty Eve Classic.
Yeah, I mean, even Ben got into this after having that amateur success. There were other amateurs that had success that were way more deserving of this spot. And Ark Roos is just, I mean, like you said, he was just a big dumbass.
Yeah, like he added nothing to this race, and he wasn't able to compete with any of the other racers.
No. So I think this is maybe the easiest F tier that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, even EB Endicott.
He was better.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next one here, Mark. We've got Juan Sandage. This is just another absolute shit stain in the Boonty Eve Classic.
Yeah, we go from an idiot to a dude that just sucks.
Yeah.
He just outright sucks.
No performances. I mean, he stayed in the GPL a little bit after this race. But, I mean, I don't know if this guy ever finished higher than last place. The only time he did was this race because he was going against Ark Roos.
And somehow Ark Roos was worse than this guy.
Yeah. Juan Sandage, like, maybe the most Mickey Mouse career of all time.
Again, in my opinion, when I heard he was in this race, I'll say the same like what I said for Ark Roos. I thought there were more deserving guys in the amateur scene that deserved this spot.
Yeah.
I don't understand why this guy even had a run.
Yeah, you got to think there were so many other deserving people to be in the league at this point, and this guy was just taking up a spot, and he did it for the rest of this season, and then was never seen again. He was not even making noise in the amateur scene after this.
He was just mid. He wasn't even like good in the amateur. He was just mid in the amateurs. I don't know why he was even in the league for a year, but I mean, this guy's an easy F. Like,
yeah, another easy F right after Ark Roos, but I mean, the dude just couldn't hang. On to the next one here, Mark. We've got Sebulba. Now, we've done a lot of talking about Sebulba.
Yes.
Because he's been involved in these rivalries, these great rivalries with Mahonic, with Ben Quaderneros. He goes into this race already being a one-time Boonty Eve winner. It was a little bit prior to this, because as we know, Bull's Roar did win the previous two before this one.
Yeah.
But he already was a one-time winner. He was a proven winner, but we know he's the dirtiest racer out there.
I mean, this guy was a known cheater. He would use every single dirty tactic that he could think of to his advantage. He was never really out piloting these racers. He was just cheating and trying to get them out of the race, wreck their pods, blow them up. Like, he was still a skilled pod racer, obviously, but the cheating, like, that just leaves a stain on his career for me.
Yeah, he's higher than Ben. You know, we talked about his rivalry with Ben and how it was pretty lopsided. Yeah. This guy was the one actually out there winning stuff. But, I mean, like you just said, he's really just winning because of all the cheating. All these tactics to be able to take other racers out of the race. I mean, he's relying on that. I really think he could have had a solid career, a solid A-tier career, had he just relied on his capabilities as a pod racer.
Yeah.
But he does so much cheating. Dude, I think it is such a stain on his legacy. He has a lot more wins.
Yeah.
He has a couple of MVPs under his belt, but he has a lot more wins than someone like Ben.
Oh, yeah.
But he might be on the same tier as Ben.
I didn't think about that.
I mean, you can't put him on the Clegg Holdfast Bull's Roar level, right?
That's a good question.
Like, you
'Cause
gotta
obviously
think,
the cheating was a big thing, but at the end of the day, he did win a lot.
yeah. But Bull's Roar, I mean, he gets 4 MVPs, almost 3 peats in the Boonta Eve. And this is all done legit. So Bulba comes out here. He's got only 2 MVPs. Granted, one was in that sort of later prime for Bull's Roar. So, like, he's getting MVPs in a decent era. But he got completely outshined by Team Topagales during the prime of pod racing. Like, we had this whole rivalry between him and Ben. I don't even know why there was a rivalry. The reason there was a rivalry between Sebulba and Ben was because Team Topagales was out there fucking taking everything. There was nothing for these guys to win. They were competing for second. He's got wins under his belt. He's got MVPs. He's got All-Stars. He's got one of the better resumes in GPL history. But I don't think I can put him on that A-tier level.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to, but also I don't know if I want to put him in with Ben, because I feel like he might be a more skilled racer than Ben was. Not might, I think he is.
Yeah.
Like, just raw skill.
And I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, because then you've got Mahonic in that tier as well.
Yeah.
And he also was outshined by Sebulba in that rivalry. So
Yeah.
I guess we really probably have to put him A tier.
By default, because he's better than those two. So by default, I don't know if I could put him in B.
Yeah, we'll put him in A, but that's a tough look.
It's tough, but I mean, like you said, the two rivalries, it really didn't feel like much of a rivalry.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
All right, Mark, on to the next one. We've got Anakin Skywalker. Now, truly, he's only really in this because he was in the Boonta Eve Classic. Like I said, we're ranking all the ones that were in the 32 BBY Boonta Eve. He does come out as the victor.
Yes, this was your victor this year.
And prior to this, he had never even finished a race.
Yeah. So
he had never finished a race.
This is a 1-year wonder right here. 1 race wonder.
Yeah.
Like,
the thing is, he does have the advantage on his resume. He was doing this so young.
Yeah, he was a child. So to be able to win against Sebulba, against all the odds, like Sebulba's cheating, trying to make you crash.
Yeah.
And you still outshine him and make him crash so he can't even finish the race, ruining people's parlays, ruining their dreams. You got to respect that.
And this guy made some people some money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the odds on him, he didn't even finish a race.
Yeah, you could have put 1 credit on this guy and became a millionaire.
Exactly. Like, the payout would have been insane.
So, in terms of pod racing skill, he's up there.
Yeah.
He had so many obstacles during this race that he was able to overcome. And that was due to his pure pod racing skill.
Mm-hmm.
As a career, it's not great.
No. Not a great career. Honestly, kind of a what if you think about it.
Yeah. If he kept going.
If he kept going, I feel like he would have been a pretty good pod racer, but he didn't, so
having a Boonta Eve under his belt catapults him up the list for sure.
In the prime of pod racing, too.
Do we put him on an Aldar Beto level? Because I feel like you can't put him on the Dud Bolt level.
Yeah, because Dud Bolt didn't do anything.
Yeah, these guys were mid. Even though, Anakin goes from not being able to complete a race to then winning the Boonta Eve. I don't think those even it out. Mm-hmm. I think he's still higher up. That Boonta Eve really carries it.
It does.
So I think he's probably a C tier pod racer.
I'll give him C. I like C.
All right, Mark, on to the next one. We've got Rats Tyrell. Now, you want to talk about loving the game. This motherfucker went out here and died for this game.
He loves this sport.
He loved the sport. He died in this Boonta Eve Classic.
I mean, I respect the love that he had. I mean, you got to have heart, to want to do this.
Yeah.
And he had it. It was unfortunate, obviously, the way he went out. I feel like if he didn't, he could have had a decent career under his belt. But it's unfortunate the way he went out.
He gets that Rookie of the Year, and then early on, he gets an MVP. He gets an MVP during the peak of Bulls Roar's run.
Yeah.
During his run, he was that guy. He gets his Boonta Eve wins during the ending days of his career. So he gets those MVPs in his prime. Rats Tyrell steals an MVP during that time.
Yeah. I mean, that's respectable.
This man, he put his everything into this sport.
Yes.
And it eventually took his life. It's one of those, we've been saying what ifs. But, he was kind of, you would think, reaching that tail end of his career. But I think he had a lot in the tank.
Yeah. Especially with how much heart he had.
Yeah.
I definitely could have saw him squeaking out another Boonta Eve or MVP. For sure.
So, I think when you really look at the list, he's probably closer to that CB range. He gets an MVP.
Yeah.
He gets an MVP.
And a Boonta.
During one of the GOATs' primes, he steals an MVP. Do you think he goes up to B?
Yes.
Yes?
I do.
Okay.
I do think he goes up to B.
And I think that also just shows how overrated Ben Quadraneros was.
Yeah.
People want to put him on that Team Topagales level. What are we even talking about?
Wasn't even close.
Rats Tyrell might have a better career. And the motherfucker died. He died in the middle of his career. Ben Quadraneros is so unbelievably overrated. I'll never get over it. Okay, Mark, on to the last one here. We've got Elon Mack. I have almost nothing to say about this man. This man came in. He was a rookie. This was his first race. And he did nothing.
It's such a forgettable career.
Nothing redeeming about him as a pod racer either. It's not like he was getting cheated out of good placements or anything. He just couldn't place well.
Yeah.
A very forgettable career. Only lasted a couple years in the GPL and really did nothing from start to finish.
Yeah,
so
he never really was able to find his footing.
I think this is just another pretty easy F tier pod racer. And that does it for the official Star Wars pod racer tier list.
I like it. I think it's a pretty good list.
Yeah,
honestly.
some of them are tough to really pinpoint where you want to put them.
At the end of the day, it depends on what you value more, MVPs or Boonta Eve Classics. But I mean, overall, I don't think it's a bad list at all.
No, I think it's very easily Team Topagales is the GOAT, and I hope that this video can really shed some light on this man.
Yeah, and open some people's eyes, maybe.
Yeah, open some people's eyes to Team Toe being the GOAT, Ben being overrated, Sebulba being a dirty cheater. I mean, I know a lot of people already know that, but we've seen some good pod racers in our time, but we've seen a lot of bad pod racers in our time.
Yes.
But I'm glad that we were able to witness the career of Team Topagales.
That was a great run.
I've been on that no sleeping, that go hard, ain't nobody stopping my shine. Had a lot of late nights with my headphones and a lot of bullshit on my mind. Had my head down and my grind on. A lot of people telling me that I'ma be the one, but I never really looked up till just now. Finally hitting me how far we've come. Rap game underdogs, rap game